Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subject 220824.3. Owing to my love of music, it seems only right to now visit someone that I was once a fan of. I saw them live, I bought all of their albums, and even had a signed guitar from the entire band. What an absolute waste of my shekels. Hello everyone, welcome to the Halls of Injustice. Today we welcome inmate number 139 to the ISO cubes. Interestingly, inmate number 139 has actually been here for a few years already, but I wanted to wait because I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to address this particular inmate. As you heard in the Captain's Log, I was a fan of this person. As a big lover of music, it was inevitable when I was at university, especially at the height of this person's band's peak, I would have heard of them and seen them live, so I wasn't best impressed and I wanted to allow time to simmer also in case any additional charges came forward before we addressed them and inducted them into the Halls of Injustice and into one of these lovely ISO cubes. The perp's name is Ian Watkins. Ian Watkins, as you now know, is going to be here for a very long time, as is right because the nature of his crimes gets this video demonetized instantly. So do please smash the like and leave a comment. To start this video, I want to tell you about him. This may take a little while, but I'll try my best to condense it down as best as possible, before we then get to the crimes of Ian Watkins, crimes that truly surprised me, and I'm sure surprised many, because they are heinous on a level they should never be. We shall then discuss the trial, the sentence, and anything that happened afterwards because he did get into trouble at least once he was in prison full time. So let us now begin with, who is Ian Watkins? Ian David Castlake Watkins, born the 30th of July 1977, in some place in Wales. Started his musical career with Mike Lewis. Mike Lewis was the rhythm guitarist of the band Lost Prophets, the band that they co-founded together. They originally started a musical project called Aftermath, which was a thrash heavy metal band that played in a shed in Watkins' own garden. Through a mutual friend, he was introduced to Lee Gaze. Lee himself was the lead guitarist of Lost Prophets. Eventually the band Aftermath was abandoned. They only did 2 live shows in 2 years. I wonder why. Ian Watkins and Gaze formed a band called Fleshbind, based on American hardcore punk influences. They even supported Feeder in London, but the band didn't last. In 1998, Ian Watkins started Lost Prophets. Ian Watkins was originally a drummer, but when they decided to do Lost Prophets, he became the singer, with Mike Chiplin taking over drums. Lost Prophets, with a number of bands in Wales, were very instrumental in a certain South Wales musical scene that was growing, Funeral for a Friend being another more notable band to come out of it. Before securing a record deal, the band recorded 3 demos. They in turn became a part of their first album, The Fake Sound of Progress. Eventually the band Lost Prophets was signed to Columbia, while also being with Visible Noise. They then released the album Start Something, which blew the band right up. With one minor band change of drummer, the band released Liberation Transmission in 2006. 4 years later, they released The Betrayed. This album was fraught with a number of issues. More notably, it cost over $500,000 to make because they scrapped the original version of it. In 2012, they released their final album. During that time, though, many of the original band members said that they didn't want to make that album because of what was going on with Ian Watkins. Something wasn't right. He is descending into madness because of things he was doing and taking that were causing him to be, let's say, nowhere near as good as he could have been. The album was released regardless, and it didn't do that well. Their 4th album also didn't do that well either, but it was entirely because it took 4 years to make. People's love of their music had dwindled. I don't think they even broke even on that one. The band itself has sold millions of records, mostly because of the album Start Something. Liberation Transmission really did piggyback off it, but it showed a more poppy side, an attempt to try and appear more mainstream. So what was Ian Watkins taking that caused all these problems? Well, this is where it gets interesting because some of it involves what he was smoking, some of it involves what he was injecting, and that in turn leads to the crimes he committed. If anyone's a fan of Breaking Bad, that's definitely something he was involved in. So as I've managed to condense this a little, perhaps now will be a good time to talk about the crimes of Ian Watkins. I'm going to insert this now. This is your trigger warning. What he did is quite heinous. Okay? If you don't like it, there will be a timestamp on the cue card. By all means, skip there if you wish. On the 19th of September 2012, Ian Watkins was charged at Cardiff Magistrates Court with conspiracy to engage in sexual activity with a 1-year-old girl, along with possession and/or distribution of indecent images of children and extreme animal pornography. When this originally came to light, I think in late 2011, I was shocked. I think I was walking to work, I thought it was a lie, but at the time I firmly believed due process needed to play out before drawing any conclusions, so that signed guitar I had went into a guitar case, into a shed, hidden away. The albums, though, I only recently discovered I still had. Here's a picture of them. They're now in an unmarked grave with a dead rat. Ian Watkins, along with 2 females also accused, were remanded into custody. Ian at the time denied all accusations. On the 31st of December 2012, he appeared at Cardiff Crown Court via video link from the prison HM Prison Park in Bridgend, where he would remain in custody until the 11th of March 2013. The case was then adjourned until May with a trial date set for the 15th of July. On the 3rd of June, he denied the charges. The process itself took a fair bit of time. On the 6th of June, it was announced the trial would start on the 25th of November and was believed to only last a month. There was an application provided to the court to ask for it to be moved outside of Wales, the trial that is. This was then denied. On the 26th of November, in a rather interesting twist, Ian Watkins pled guilty to attempted rape and sexual assault of a child under 13, but not guilty to rape. This in turn was accepted by the prosecution. They had a lot of evidence on him. I wonder why. He further then pleaded guilty to 3 counts of sexual assault involving children, 6 counts of taking, making, or possessing indecent images of children, and 1 count of possessing an extreme pornographic image involving a sex act on an animal. One of his victims was a baby boy, and he had sent a text message to the mother of one of those victims that said, "If you belong to me, so does your baby." The investigation from the South Wales Police into Ian Watkins was codenamed Operation Globe and required the cooperation of GCHQ to decrypt a hidden drive on his laptop, which in turn was found to contain video evidence of all his abuses. This is why he pled guilty, because they had everything on him. He had no option. Ian Watkins had actually given his own little code name for the crimes he committed. All his sex offences. In a phone call recorded to a female fan made from the prison, he defined them as mega lols. I'm not so comfortable using the word lol now, but it was a mega lol that he had attempted to abuse a baby boy, had sexually assaulted many children, all while incredibly off his face on meth, heroin, cocaine, and anything else he can get into his system. Ian Watkins doesn't remember any of this though, but he does realise the gravity of what happened. This was confirmed by Sally O'Neill, who was Watkins' barrister. On the 18th of December 2013, a sentencing hearing took place. We'll get to that in a moment. I don't think I need to go through the law, each of the crimes he was accused of, that was then confirmed when his hard drive was decrypted, because I think we all know the sentence has to be severe. But I think it's now right we go to sentencing, because there's more that happened in the fallout anyway, so more crimes to go through afterwards. Ian Watkins, inmate number 139, in 2013 was sentenced by Judge John Royce to 29 years in prison, with eligibility to apply for parole after serving 2/3 of that term, followed by 6 years of supervised release. Now, I earlier mentioned he wasn't the only person to get arrested. There were 2 co-defendants, the mothers of his victims, each receiving 14 and 17 years imprisonment. One of the police officers investigating this had described Ian Watkins as a committed, organised paedophile and potentially the most dangerous sex offender he had ever seen. And there's a reason for that, which we'll get to in a moment. Watkins was then transferred from HM Prison Park, where he was incarcerated, to HM Prison Wakefield. Because his mother had a kidney transplant, he was transferred to HM Prison Long Lartin, and then to HM Prison Rye Hill. He's now back in Wakefield. There's a reason for that. As far as the sentence goes, it's a lengthy one, but I do think he deserved, well, life without parole, quite frankly. But that's just me. It was interesting when the news broke that this had happened, the band Lost Prophets had to obviously dissolve. They did try and start up another band afterwards, with the singer from the band Thursday. It didn't work. It was also reported that Ian Watkins had about 150 grand to his name. Not much when you think about all the records they sold and all the shows they did, and that 150 grand came from when the band liquidated all their assets. Money which may well have been lost in settlements with other people that he had harmed. An investigation was done into the police because people believe, many did, that the police had failed to act sooner. Because from 2008 to 2012, there were reports of Ian Watkins' behaviour, a number of fans, ex-girlfriends that made allegations. The police had to accept they goofed on that one because a number of them were proven to be true. Shocker. As a final part of his sentence, he is also registered as a sex offender for life. There is no way he gets off that register. Now, I had mentioned he did something else. In 2018, so 5 years into his sentence, Ian Watkins, during a cell search, was found to be in possession of a mobile phone. He was then accused of using that phone to maintain contact with a girlfriend outside of prison. He then denied the charge. He claimed it didn't belong to him, but 2 inmates forced him to hide it for them, up his bottom. He didn't, though, give their names because he feared violent retribution. A charger for that phone was also found in his cell. Watkins also claimed he still received fan mail from fans of Lost Prophets, and that the men wanted him to help them take advantage of the women, writing in as a revenue stream. After 5 days, he was also convicted of that and sentenced to an additional 10 months in prison. How'd that work out for you? I'm starting to understand why Ian Watkins has made friends with the evil arsonist Mick Philpott. You know, the guy who killed his own kids by faking a house fire.